You're listening to the Murder Speaks podcast, the show that spills the tea about true crime. Here's your host, Wendy Hinbest.
Hey, welcome back to Murder Speaks with your host, Wendy.
And co-host, Brent.
So, we're going to get into the case. So, today's real crime story is about 23-year-old Hannah Zehner of Gainesville, Florida. Her mother, Susan, met Art Zehner, a military veteran, in February 1982, and the two of them married sometime after that. Hannah was just 2 months old when the couple had adopted her, and she was their second adopted child after Hillary.
Oh, they've adopted two children?
Yes.
Unusual, okay.
Hannah had a great relationship with her adoptive family, and they were very close. January 23rd, 2016, Hannah's mother, Susan, received a call from the manager at the motel where Hannah was staying. The manager said Hannah's checkout date was tomorrow. They tell her mother that they haven't seen her for 2 days, and they want to know if she's going to come back and check out. Her mother was concerned, obviously, because Hannah always kept in touch with her, so it worried her and Art when the motel manager called to let them know that Hannah hadn't been seen for a few days.
Okay, so the couple was married in 1982, you said? Or they
Yes.
adopted her in 1982?
They met in February of 1982 and got married sometime after that.
Yeah. Does it say when they adopted Hannah?
It just says that she was 2 months old when they adopted her.
Okay. So she's very young. So at this point now we're flash forwarding to 2016. So now she's like probably in her mid-30s, I guess.
She's 23 years old.
23?
Yes.
In 2016?
Yep.
Oh, so they must have adopted her way after they got married then.
I guess.
Yeah, okay.
They don't say exactly when they adopted her. They just said that they adopted her.
Yeah, no, I was confused because they said they got married in 1982. I was assuming that they adopted her fairly soon after that, but I think they may have adopted her in the 90s then.
Her parents couldn't get a hold of her.
Sorry, did she work at the hotel or was she staying at the hotel?
She was staying at the hotel.
Do we know why she was staying at the hotel?
I'll get to that.
Okay.
Her parents couldn't get a hold of her. They contacted Hannah's friends, but nobody has seen or heard from her in days. Her daughter was going through a tough time. She was the young mother of a toddler, and she recently separated from her husband.
At 23?
I guess, yep.
Really young to have been married, had a kid, and gotten divorced.
She was 17 weeks pregnant while she was staying at an extended stay motel on her own.
She must have been, I'm assuming then she broke up with the boyfriend, had nowhere to go, husband, and was staying at this hotel as a place to stay instead of going home. So I guess so I don't know the details yet. So assuming either one, she was so far away from her family that it was just easier and more practical to go stay at an extended hotel, and maybe she has a job. Or she's like ashamed and doesn't want to tell her family. But
yeah, I didn't understand why she would stay at a motel as opposed to staying with her parents. That part I didn't understand either.
Well, we don't know yet. I mean, like if they're like 300 miles apart and her job's there and she needs her job for taking care of her kids, she may not have wanted to quit her job. So she may have been just staying there until she can figure out what to do next.
Yeah. So she already had a toddler with her husband, and now she was already, and she was currently 17 weeks pregnant.
So married... I mean, well, it doesn't matter the order of things. So let's just say, so married, pregnant, had a kid, pregnant again, then broke up at the age of 23.
Now they're separating, yeah.
What state is this in? Sounds like Kentucky or something.
Gainesville, Florida.
Florida, okay, makes sense. Florida's crazy.
Okay, so her mother explained the situation to her husband, Art. And a half hour later, they pulled into the motel parking lot.
Half an hour?
Yeah.
It's close. Like,
So
this
they
isn't
were
far
close.
apart. Why didn't she just go home?
Yeah, I don't understand the circumstances there. I don't know. Maybe
they didn't have a good relationship or something. I don't know.
I don't know. I'm not sure. That's one of the things that I thought of too. Like, why wouldn't you stay with her parents? You know what I mean? Like, it's weird. But anyways, we don't know. So they noticed her car was not there, and at first they were relieved because they thought maybe she just went out or something. But when they saw the motel room, they began to worry.
Uh-oh.
If you're looking for true crime merch with a great fit and feel, look no further. Crystal Kiss has a wide selection of clothes to brighten up your wardrobe. I like to wear clothes that make a fashion statement and says something about me. Like, our true crime and chocolate design describes me very well. I love chocolate and I love watching true crime, so they go hand in hand. Our hoodies are so soft and can be paired with one of our true crime joggers to make a super comfy outfit. Our true crime t-shirts fits true to size. For a night out, throw on a pair of heels and a crop top. Whatever you're doing, Crystal Kiss has you covered. You people in the US get free shipping. You can also use discount code MURDER15, that's MURDER15, and save 15% off your entire order. Check out our wicked selection of true crime merch today at crystalkiss.com.
I guess we'll find out in a second. I'm assuming either blood or the place has been tossed.
There was no sign of a struggle, but all of her things were still there.
Oh, okay.
The only things missing were her purse and her jacket. So her parents called the police.
So her purse and jacket were missing.
That's it, but all her toiletries and everything was still there.
And the car was gone.
And the car was gone.
Okay.
Yeah. So her parents called the police.
You have an emergency? Our daughter is missing. Where was she last seen at? Florida motel. We're in a room looking at her stuff. My wife, she's really concerned.
Officer Nicholas Bird heard the call come in over the radio. And when he heard it was Art and Susan Zehner, he had to go.
So he has a prior history with this family?
I'm getting to that.
Okay.
So he's known them since he was a teenager. And he knows...
Did he go to high school with Hannah or something?
I'm not sure. My research just said that he's known them since he's known them since he was a teenager. My guess is maybe he did go to high school with
because I'm like,
the parents or something.
Why would it? Oh, he may have gone to high school with the parents.
Well, he said he's known them since he was a teenager, and he's a grown man now.
Yeah, but he could be like 25. Like he may have gone to school with their daughter, maybe.
Okay, maybe.
Do we know how old the detective is?
No.
Well, detectives usually have to be on the force for a long time. That there's not a lot of 25, 30-year-old detectives, I don't think. So, okay, anyway, so he's known the parents since he was a teenager for whatever reason.
He's known them since he was a teenager, and he knows that Hannah would have told her mother if she was going somewhere.
Right.
She left a lot of personal items, like toiletries, in the motel room. The officer found a small makeup bag, and it had numbers written in the inside.
Like phone numbers?
No, it looked like a VIN, like a vehicle identification number.
Okay.
So the officer ran...
Inside of her makeup bag?
He's handwritten inside the makeup bag. Yeah,
Weird. Okay.
It's very strange, yeah. So the officer ran the VIN number, and it was traced back to a car owned by Nelson Armis.
Is that her ex?
He was someone in her life. He was in Hannah's life.
Okay.
The police talked to him, and he tells them that he doesn't know why Hannah wrote down the VIN number. He hadn't seen her in 3 or 4 days, and he didn't know where she was. The police did an emergency order for her cell phone records, and everything stopped on the 19th of January.
Okay, so because at this point we don't know when she went missing, but now we've got the police having like some kind of documentation at least saying that all of her electronic information stopped on August 19th?
Exactly. January 19th.
January 19th. Okay, so January 19th. Now we're presuming this is the day she's gone missing, okay?
So there was no activity on her cell phone to anyone. There was no activity on her social media accounts. The police reached out to her ex-husband.
Wait, were they able to track the GPS? Or did they do that later?
I believe that comes later.
Yeah, because it's 2016, so they have that information. They have that technology.
So the police reached out to her ex-husband. He admitted that they were having problems, but he still loved her. And he told the police that he wanted to get back together, but Hannah was having second thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
He told the police that he hasn't heard from her since the 19th. The police asked him about his whereabouts on the 19th, and he told the police that he was at home watching his son, and he didn't have a vehicle.
Okay, that's pretty solid.
Yeah, the alibi appeared solid, and there was no evidence that contradicted it. Her mother confirmed that Hannah's ex-husband loved her and that he would never lay a finger on her.
Her parents said that?
Her mother confirmed that, yes.
Okay.
The police discovered that Hannah's close friend, Abriana, had actually seen Hannah at noon on January 19th. Hannah dropped her off at work, and that was the last time she saw her.
Oh, okay. All right. So on the 19th at noon. All right. So we're zeroing in on at least when she went missing. And her friend was the last person that saw her.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
An hour later, Hannah sent Abriana a text around 1 p.m., but Abriana couldn't talk because she was at work. So she said she would call her when she got off. Abriana said that Hannah was confused and upset that day about splitting up with her husband. After that text, Abriana tried calling and texting Hannah, but she couldn't get a hold of her. That was the last time she heard from her.
So around 1 p.m.
Yes. Hannah's cell phone records indicated that somebody had heard from her that afternoon. The last person Hannah spoke to was Rebecca. They knew each other from high school. They recently reconnected, and were going to hang out. And there was several short calls between them on the 19th between 2 p.m. and 2:30 p.m. So the police talked to Rebecca. She said they planned to meet up and run some errands. She said that when she looked out her window minutes before Hannah was supposed to arrive, she noticed a car parked on the dirt access road that ran along her property. It was a silver car, and all the doors were left open, and nobody was there.
Okay, wait. So she looked at it, and she just saw this car just sitting out there with all the doors
sitting
wide
out there,
open.
all those wide open, and nobody there.
I mean, that would draw your attention.
Of course. So she walked out to check it out. Then all of a sudden, a white male jumped up from behind the car and told her,
"Stop, we're having sex."
So Rebecca was startled.
Wait, from behind the car? Like on the ground?
Yeah, so they weren't inside the car. They were just hiding behind the car.
With all the doors wide open?
All the doors wide open. And she approached the car, and then as she did that, he just jumped up out of nowhere and said, "Stop, we're having sex." So, of course, Rebecca was startled and left to go back to her house. Then she got a text from Hannah canceling plans. The description of the car seemed like the car that Hannah drove, a silver Toyota Camry.
Wait a second. So Rebecca didn't know what kind of car she had? Because otherwise she would have known that was her friend's car. So she didn't recognize it was her friend's car. So we're left to assume now maybe this guy had just finished killing Rebecca, was possibly raping her dead body, and was like saying that we're having sex to get this girl to like go away so he didn't have to, so she wouldn't see what was going on. Maybe.
But it's strange that he's doing it right there in front of her house. Like, it's,
I mean, people do strange things.
It's weird. Like, why would you do that there?
I don't know. People do all kinds of weird things. It's hard to understand why people do things.
So anyways, the police brought Rebecca in for questioning.
Yeah.
I thought the car was like abandoned or something. It looks up because the door was open, the other two doors was open. I didn't see nobody. I was close enough to see that there was no one in the car. He just popped up off the ground, I guess.
And you're sure he popped up from the ground and not from the back seat to get out and look at you?
No, he popped up from the ground.
So he was on the other side of the car?
On the side I couldn't see, yeah.
Yeah, so this kid just seems to be getting weirder and weirder. The part that I'm like baffled by, trying to wrap my head around, is that like Hannah presumably shows up in front of her friend's house, and then this guy just happens upon her and just happens to like rape and kill her right in front of her friend's house.
Weird.
Or like when she was getting in her car, he jumped in the car and made her drive somewhere, and she drove there on purpose. Like, I'm very confused.
It's
like,
puzzling.
I'm not confused by like the narrative of the story this far. I'm very confused by the motives of this weird guy.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm eager to find out more.
So Rebecca said it was a white male, average build, with dark hair and a dark beard.
Right. Okay. So it looks like 90% of all white males.
But she didn't see the car drive off. But she looked out the window a few minutes later, and it was gone. The police were wrapping up their interview with Rebecca when they got a call about another strange clue that was discovered. Nelson Armis, he's the owner of the car, of the VIN number that they found in the makeup, written in the makeup bag.
Right. Yep.
He said he had additional information. He said he spent time with Hannah the day she went missing. He agreed to meet up with the police and show them some of the areas he had been with Hannah. Nelson said he had been following Hannah's story on the news and thought his information might be vital.
Didn't think to mention this the first time they talked to the police?
I know, right?
Whenever you want to meet up, I'm okay to meet up with you.
I feel like this is priority because somebody's missing, you know? So the sooner we can get this done, I'd love to help you out.
What's your relationship with her then? How do you see it?
I was using her as a Band-Aid. You know, I was hurt. My wife didn't want nothing to do with me. So I just want somebody to be there. I never really intended to actually have a relationship with her. I was just using her as a crutch.
Right. So now we've got two different stories, right?
Yeah.
We've got Rebecca's story about seeing a gray car out in front of and we've got, what's his name?
Nelson.
So we got Nelson's story. Okay. So Nelson's story, I believe most of it. I believe that he was at the hotel. I believe that they probably got into an argument. Maybe she wanted to be serious. He didn't want to be that serious. Maybe he just was looking for a booty call, even though she's got kids there. So he leaves, and then she's probably upset that he's leaving, feeling rejected, whatever. So she pulls up to him, convinces him to get in the car. They go for a drive. They're probably arguing and fighting. I even believe the part when he says that she slapped him, right? Not unbelievable. I think what happens after that is the lie. You get slapped in the face and then you just sit there with your hands in your lap?
That's what I know, seriously.
I'm not saying you start hitting back, but nobody goes like, I've just been struck in the face. I'm now going to place my hands on my lap and try to stay calm. No, if somebody slaps you in the face, you're going to get angry. Not that you should hit back, but you're going to get angry. It's going to get heated. I think what happened was that it got angry, it heated. Maybe Hannah, feeling a sense of danger, drove towards her friend's house, somewhere where she could feel safe and secure. And him not knowing that was that house, I think that's when things just happened by coincidence to get out of hand. Still don't fully understand why all 4 car doors are open, because my thinking would be that they get into an argument, they're a physical altercation. She jumps out the front door, he jumps out the front door. That would explain the front 2 doors being open. And then he grabs her and then for whatever reason decides to murder her, rape her, whatever the situation is yet. Still not completely defined. But I'm still perplexed by the back doors are open. Unless at this point he's got the back doors open to try and put her body in, and then Rebecca just happens to walk out and he's trying to stop her from getting closer.
Yeah.
But I think that these 2 stories are kind of converging. So when he says he got out and walked back, that's where I think that his lie starts, and I think it ties into Rebecca's story. But let's hear the rest.
Yep. So before we go any further, we just want to mention our store, Crystal Kiss.
Crystal Kiss. Come and check out for your true crime merch.
We have hoodies, tank tops.
Leggings.
No, we don't have leggings. Stop saying leggings, okay?
I always say leggings. What is it? Joggers?
Okay, we have hoodies, tank tops, joggers.
There you go.
And...
You got a hat and shoes.
Yes. No, we don't have shoes.
Socks?
We have no socks.
We have no shoes and socks?
Okay, so check it out. It comes in so many designs.
Yeah, we got all different kinds of like tags on the shirts. Addicted to true crime, start killing it. There's probably many more. I can't think of them all right now.
Yes, and we have a discount code MURDER15. That's MURDER15.
For 15% off?
That's correct. And if you are in the U.S.
free shipping.
Off everything in the store. So go and check it out. It's Crystal Kiss with a K. Now we'll get back to the show. So he indicated that Hannah wanted to have a serious relationship with him, but he wasn't interested. He said that he left Hannah's motel room around 1:30 p.m. on January 19th after an argument. He said he left by foot. But then Hannah drove up alongside of him, and she pleaded for him to get in the car.
Oh, wait a second. Sorry, wait. So he said he left at 1:30, and she followed him. But earlier, Rebecca said, or the police said that they had like calls going back and forth between Rebecca and Hannah, between up until 2 or after 2 or
between
something?
2 and 2:30. But I don't know if it was it on January 19th. I think it was on January 19th, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
2 and 2:30.
But he said he left the
he's saying
hotel
he
room.
left at 1:30. She picked him up, and presumably while he's in the car, that's when these phone calls are going back and forth. Okay,
that's a good point. Never thought of that.
Well, we don't know which story. Well, we know that the phone calls are true because the police found the evidence of it, but we're not sure about his story yet.
Yeah.
So, okay, well, this is still possible. They could have picked him up. They could have been talking. She could have called her friend while she was talking to him.
He said eventually he got back in the car with her, and they started to drive out of Gainesville on Highway 441.
Is Highway 441, is that the highway that Rebecca lived on? Because Rebecca lived out in the country somewhere, right?
They didn't say what highway she lived on.
Okay.
I'm not sure. He said that Hannah refused to accept the fact that the relationship was over. And at some point during their trip, Nelson said that Hannah slapped him in the face.
Right.
And when the police asked him what he did, he said he put his hand on his lap and tried to remain as calm as possible.
I find that hard to believe.
Then he told Hannah to pull over. And he got out of the car and walked back to Gainesville, and Hannah drove off. Nelson went to the station so police can analyze his cell phone data. And the police were able to verify everything he said up until he claimed that he got out of the car.
Right.
The police asked Nelson how he got home. And he told police that he hitchhiked back to Gainesville and then walked the last 13 miles.
That's what's going to kill him. Because they're going to track his cell phone footage, and they're going to, not footage, his cell phone GPS, and they're going to know that he was in the car.
So the police were skeptical, because even at a fast pace, the 13-mile walk would have taken close to 4 hours.
Yeah, 4 hours.
But his cell phone records indicated he was back home in less than 2 hours.
Right. He would have had to have, like, almost sprinted the whole damn way.
After she dropped you off, you never saw her again? No other contact. You're the last person to have contact with her. And a contact with her is she's mad at you. She's screaming at you. Do you understand? No, I understand. From our point of view, how it looks? No, I understand. And within moments of that, poof, she disappears. I got out the car. I I never touched her.
Yeah. So his story. So you can see what the police are doing here. So the police are trying to back him into a corner and lock him down into a story that he's telling, which is that he got out of the car, he hitchhiked, and then he walked back 13 miles. And they're kind of like asking him different questions to really get him to commit to that. So that they got him saying, okay, this is definitively what he says happened. And now we have definitive proof of the impossibility of that statement to prove that he's lying.
Exactly.
Right. So you can either hopefully use that to coerce what's what I'm looking for? Confession. A confession out of him, or at the very least, be able to present this to a jury to say, this is his story, and him and his attorney might try and like come up with a new story, but then you can say, well, this was their initial story, and then this is their new story, and then like this is what the evidence shows, so that you can prove to the jury at the very least that this guy has been lying.
Yes. So Nelson's cell phone data showed that he was with Hannah minutes before her phone went dead.
Right.
While Nelson was answering questions in one interrogation room, Rebecca had just finished her interview about the strange encounter she had outside her home.
Wait, is this a coincidence, or did the police bring Rebecca back in?
Total coincidence.
Oh.
They just happened to be there
at the exact
same time.
Oh, so the police haven't heard both these stories yet. So after both these interviews, they're going to compare their stories and be like, wait a second.
So while Nelson was answering questions in one interrogation room, Rebecca had just finished her interview about the strange encounter she had outside her home. Now, as the police walked her out, she walked by the room that Nelson was in and said that he looked like the guy she saw by the car outside her house.
I knew it. I knew it was going to happen.
So Rebecca took a closer look, and she was convinced that Nelson Armis was the guy that yelled at her by the car outside her house.
Now, did the police ask her to look at this guy, or she just happened to look at the window and was
She just walked by and just happened to look in the room and go, wait a minute.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and even...
Just a wild coincidence.
Yes, and the police were even asked if they planned that, and they're like, no, it was just a coincidence. It's crazy. So the police confronted Nelson.
The girl describes a person that looks like you. No, she saw. I understand what you're saying, but I didn't do anything.
For the most part, the law has to deal in facts, right? Hard facts, and prosecutors don't want to press charges unless they've got like their timeline, a narrative. So the
motive.
So what the prosecutor wants is a timeline of events, a narrative that goes to the motive of the case, and then like evidence to back stuff up. So what they've got now is the girl who's like saying that's him. So they're putting together that timeline now, and they're starting to get witnesses together. But now what they need now is evidence. So they need to find her body and get his DNA on her body.
Yep.
Although if he says they were in the same car together, but he hasn't said they had sex. So if they find like evidence of them having had sex, then
he said he was using her. He said he was using her as a crutch. So
yeah, but he never said that they had sex that day.
Yeah. Okay. Now, but there was no grounds for an arrest at that time, so they had to let him go.
Yeah, because if they arrest him, then they have to press charges within a certain period of time.
So the police examined Nelson's social media activity around Hannah's disappearance, and he posted thanking somebody for letting him crash on her couch. That is who he was with the night Hannah went missing. So the police tracked down that person. She told police that Nelson seemed nervous when he asked for help that night. She said around 9 o'clock at night, she was at Walmart in Gainesville, and Nelson met her there. And the police got the surveillance video at Walmart for the night of January 19th and confirmed her story. The police wondered how Nelson got to the Walmart. Now, looking at the video surveillance of the Walmart parking lot, they were able to see Nelson driving a silver car similar to Hannah's car. The police felt that everything Nelson told them was a lie. The silver car Nelson drove remained in the Walmart parking lot for 4 days. And during that time, Nelson returned back to the car. Nelson was dropped off by a man driving a distinctive El Camino. The police found out who the El Camino was registered to and made contact with him. And he told police that Nelson asked him for help getting rid of the silver Toyota.
Somebody calls you up and says, help me get rid of a car. Like, doesn't your mind start going like...
Yeah, you're going to call the police. I would. And he had given the Toyota to the owner of a tow yard with specific instructions. He told them when they're done taking what they want from the car to crush it. Investigators rushed to the tow yard, and they still had the car. And the police were able to confirm that the car belonged to Hannah. Forensics processed the car. And there was blood found on the left side of the trunk. And it was Hannah's blood.
Left side of the trunk, okay.
Yes, and it was Hannah's blood. The police broke the tragic news to her parents.
He said they found a tremendous amount of blood in the trunk. And he said there's just no way that she could be alive. She was murdered.
So the police went to Nelson's home with a search warrant, and they found several burn piles. In one of the burn piles, they found what looked like the remains of a jacket.
In the immortal words of Dave Chappelle, "Gotcha, bitch!"
Yeah. Hannah's husband said that the burnt jacket found at Nelson's house matched the one Hannah used to own. And pieces of floor mats from a vehicle were also found. The police confronted Nelson with the evidence.
Her blood's inside the car and in the trunk of the car. Okay. So what are you trying to tell me? You gonna slap me with a charge? There is a burn pit at your house, and there's items in that burn pile. Like what? Like floor mats. You know how much garbage we have out of that house? The problem is that those mats were in a Toyota Camry. Now I feel like, I need a lawyer. Because y'all are trying to get me to confess something I didn't do. So, okay. We need to find Hannah.
So an informant called in and said that Nelson had thrown a knife out of the car and he knew where the knife was, and he drew a map of where the knife would be. It was a blood-stained knife. Hannah's husband confirmed that the knife was something he had given to Hannah. Nelson was arrested and charged with Hannah's murder.
Yeah.
While he was behind bars, he provided police with more information. Nelson had broke down and told another person in the jail that he had murdered Hannah.
He said he stabbed in the throat. He said the girl, the victim that got killed, had the VIN number in her purse.
His wife's VIN number?
In her purse. And he said that's when he was like, I just can't do it no more. You're too close to my family. This is what he snapped. This is why he did it.
Yeah, so I think we're starting to fill in the story here a bit more. I can't remember at the beginning what we said the nature of Nelson and Hannah's relationship was, but it seems like Hannah was sleeping with Nelson, who was a married man, and only wanted sex from Hannah and nothing else because he didn't want to ruin his family relationship. Don't know yet, I guess at this point, if Hannah's husband found out about this affair, and that's why they were getting divorced or got divorced. But so it's very weird that she wrote down the VIN number. So he felt threatened by that. I'm wondering if he even left. Maybe he coaxed her into the car with the intention of taking her out there to kill her in the first place because he wanted to keep her shut up.
Yeah. He said Nelson killed Hannah to keep their affair a secret.
Yeah.
And Nelson told him where he disposed of Hannah's remains. So they searched for Hannah's remains. Bones were found in a creek off US 301 north of Orange Heights.
Bones?
Yes.
So this is now, this has to span a very long
must have
period
gone
of time.
because now it was pretty much severely decomposed in bones, right?
Unless it was consumed by an animal or something. Ugh.
Through DNA testing, they confirmed that it was Hannah.
Mm-hmm.
During trial, Hannah's father was in the same room as Nelson. Obviously, he was very upset.
To say the least.
Hannah was 5 months pregnant. Hannah was 5 foot tall. Hannah was 110 pounds. Hannah was defenseless. I'm looking at the guy who slaughtered, not just murdered, but slaughtered my daughter and my grandchild, who dismembered her, who burned her body. She suffered so much. These are my nightmares, and I can never, ever forget that. Never. I know what I'm capable of doing. All this is going through my mind. And my wife was like, no, please, no, don't do this. Please. And I walked out of the courtroom with her.
So Hannah's father was 6'5" and 250 pounds, and he was very close to Nelson during the trial.
And a veteran of military, so we know that he knows how to handle himself.
Yes. And he was angry enough to take justice into his own hands. But, his wife pleaded with him, don't do anything, because they have another child and they have grandkids.
And a life together.
So, he's
Let's not risk it over this piece of garbage.
Exactly. Going to jail for this guy, right? It's not worth it. After a 2-week trial, Nelson Armas was found guilty and sentenced to life plus 10 years in prison.
What the hell is life plus 10 years?
I have no idea.
You're going to serve the rest of your life, and then once you die, you'll serve a further 10 years.
Susan and Art Zehner now seem to be spending their time with their grandchildren, visiting different places. Apparently, the couple still live in Alachua, Florida, where Susan worked as a teacher for the past 2 decades. Nelson remains in the Alachua County Jail.
There you go.
There you go.
I guess that's the case of Hannah. All right.
Sad, though.
Yeah, it's always sad. I mean, if you say that at the end of every case, like every case is always sad.
So every case is sad, yeah.
90% of the time it's a girl who, through no fault of her own, really, like, you know, not necessarily living your best life, but certainly not doing anything that justifies, like, this kind of level of violence being perpetrated on you.
Not at all. And we mean no disrespect. All the everything I've said is from the sources I've obtained, and all of my sources are in our show notes. Mm-hmm. And for everybody out there who knew Hannah Zehner, we're very sorry for your loss.
Yep, that's for sure.
Hey, and before we leave, just want to again mention our store, crystalkiss.com. Please check it out. The link's in the show notes. And we do have a Patreon as well where...
But we'll be posting a second episode per week on that Patreon channel. So go subscribe and listen to a little bit more of this show.
Exactly. Yep. And that's it. And thanks again for listening. And we'll see you on the next one.
Yep, bye.
Bye.